Welcome. Well, you're at home with Jim and Joy, and a blessed Thursday to you in the second week of Lent. You are an important part of our EWTN family, and we're delighted that you've welcomed us into your home, and we're praying you have a wonderful Lent. We want to hear from you, so send us an email with a question or a comment to jimandjoy@ewtn.com. And I like to say, a happy Lent, and you say, a happy Lent? But yes, we could be happy in our Lenting.
Yes,
right?
indeed.
We can be.
It's in the Bible.
I choose to be happy in my Lenten. Anyway, today we have Dede Chism with us, and she is a career nurse practitioner, and she's specializing in high-risk pregnancies, and she has co-founded a beautiful ministry with her daughter, Bella Health and Wellness, and it's an OBGYN and complete family care clinic. So their aim is to provide life-affirming health care for all peoples, regardless of their income, and to build up future generations through support and education. Go to the great website, bellawellness.org, and you are going to want a Bella Wellness in your diocese.
Yes.
So go there, look at it, and go, that's the kind of health care that I want, and you will be blessed.
Yeah. Well, this is an encouraging show that we're having, and it does fit into the season of Lent. The Lord our God is a healer, and maybe we should be doing more prayers for healing, new evangelization, and saying, hey, that's what the Lord's calling me to take up, or at least a portion of that is to do the work of evangelization holistically.
Right.
Holistic health for people, praying for that, working towards that end. And, you know, I love what Dede said when she went through kind of her history and her journey with her husband, Kenny. She said, Lord, we say to you, yes, always yes. Yes, always yes. We don't hear that much from people.
No.
Now, that's dangerous.
It's yes, but, right?
Well, we heard from the Blessed Virgin Mary.
Yes.
You know, like, I don't know the whole thing or what's going to be coming here, but I'm the handmaiden of the Lord. Let it be done to me according to your word. And that's what I'm learning, as well as Bella Wellness and all that's happening there, is the people who helped found that. She and her daughter and Kenny and others that said early on, yes, Lord, always yes to you, and they will come. The Lord will come to you in every sort of distressing and wonderful disguise, and they're just saying, yes, Lord. Our health care is a storefront to help usher people to heaven. So it's beautiful. So plenty more to come. We'll be right back. Go to bellawellness.org. Don't go away.
Welcome back. We're at home with Jim and Joy, and today we have Dede Chism with us. She's career nurse practitioner, specializing in high-risk pregnancies, and she has co-founded a beautiful ministry with her daughter that God asked them to start a long time ago, Bella Health and Wellness. It's an OBGYN and complete family care clinic. Have you ever heard of such a thing? Did you ever think that could exist? Their aim is to provide life-affirming health care for all people, regardless of their income, and to build up, this is important for the rest of us out there, to build up future generations through support and education. We need this multiplied all over the country. bellawellness.org. Jesus, do your thing. Well, I'm so excited to have you. We want you first tell our family about Bella Wellness, what it is, and then how can other people, like if they saw yesterday's show and they see today's show, they go to your website, they're like, what? I didn't even know a facility, a place like this existed on the planet. How could it come to my place?
Right, great question. Well, Bella is a fully Catholic, but fully medical health clinic. As you said, we have OBGYN, family medicine, pediatrics, wellness, functional medicine. And how that began was initially with a discernment And then on medical mission, the Lord pushed us and said, it's time to stop discerning and start working.
Right.
And we came home, and we had been discerning with our bishops, and it was time to move forward. And so putting together a clinic is actually a lot harder than just working in one. I'm telling you, I was a hospital-based nurse practitioner, and this was way out of my league. But as you know, and I would encourage all of your viewers to know, is that the Lord doesn't choose necessarily the qualified, right?
Right.
And he qualifies the chosen. And that was definitely the case for our daughter Abby and I when he asked us to open this clinic. And our Archbishop was gracious enough to allow us to have a chapel with the Blessed Sacrament in that chapel, which protects us from anything that can come in. But we knew from the very beginning, praying together as a staff before that day started, knowing that we do not have what it takes without the grace of God, without every gift that the Holy Spirit can give us to meet those people where they're at, to meet them in their messes and to love them and care for them the way that Jesus wanted them to do.
Reminds me a lot of Mother Angelica, getting to this whole area of media and all this, and that was what she was trained for. She would say to her sisters, I think it was to the sisters and probably to EWTN, we don't know what we're doing, but we're getting better at this. Like God's, it wasn't like we were all equipped to do this, but he's going to equip us, like you say, and your husband, yes, always yes, yes, always yes. That doesn't mean that you know what's going on, but you'll get better at it, and you will know more and more, but you got to say yes.
Yes, the Lord totally has had us on a need-to-know basis. So he only lets us know when he's ready to let us know. So you can say yes and know he's going to come around with letting you know the details of that. But as you said about Mother Angelica, it's interesting. She was such an inspiration to me. Somebody had given me that book. I think maybe
Raymond Arroyo's book?
Raymond's book. And I read it like I was a novel on the beach, man. I'm reading this, and she was so courageous, and she was doing things way out of her wheelhouse, but out of the love of Jesus, and that there was nothing too big, too great, too anything that wasn't worthy of what it took for our Lord, and I was like, that's how I want to be. I want to have that kind of courage, and not think about the consequences, not think about the pushback. And that's the hardest part, because the spiritual battle is real, and everybody thinks you're crazy. You want to do what? You want to open a practice where you don't provide birth control, you don't do sterilizations, you don't do abortions, and oh my gosh, you do not even refer for them? That is like unethical. And people would literally say to me, I don't know how you can sleep at night.
And in this culture and climate, you can really be attacked for this legally. You face some of that with the abortion pill reversal. Many people aren't even aware of that and what that is. Tell us a little bit about that and the almost illegality of that in Colorado. You do that.
Sure. Yes. So I'm limited a little bit because we are actually in the middle of litigation. So our state has a law in place that says it's illegal for us to give progesterone to a woman who has taken the first abortion pill and changes her mind. So that the progesterone, natural hormone of pregnancy, and that first abortion pill blocks the progesterone, and that's how it compromises the pregnancy, and then it's followed by some other pills to cause the labor and deliver that baby. And so our state has said it's unprofessional conduct to do that. And so just to know that people receive progesterone all the time. It may be the most widely used medicine hormone, across the world because it's a natural hormone we produce all the time. And we use it for women who are having miscarriages or infertility, which is fine. But if a woman says, I've changed my mind, that's not okay. And you just need to understand, as a healthcare provider, that vows to not do any harm, but also as a person who has to stand before God, to have a woman come in and say, I made a mistake, can you help me save my baby? And I have the ability, I have the resources, I have the skill set, I have the intellect on how to do this, and I deny that, not only could I not like justify that before God, but I also, it's just cruel. Why would I do that?
Right, right. But it's an intentional attack, and we know Heartbeat International is also in a lawsuit with the state of California because they prescribe progesterone, and it's just evil. It's just evil, and so that's being holistic as we are. If a woman came in and she was threatening a miscarriage, and we knew that we did her blood levels and knew that her progesterone levels were low, we say, well, this is going to help you sustain the pregnancy. You just need to take it to 12 weeks. We do everything we can to do that, right?
We give progesterone all the time.
And so it's an important thing to do.
But we were just making that point just to say it really is a battle. Hopefully we haven't scared everybody off that might want to do what you're doing.
Well, no, I think it's important to understand even our name. We prayed that the Lord would bless us with the name of his baby, and he named Bella as Bella. And we thought it was because of the beautiful, the Italian.
Right.
And yes, we are beautifully and wonderfully made. But when we learned that it was actually for the Latin, and we learned that in Latin, Bella means wars, W-A-R-S. We had a really good idea of what the Lord was saying, what was ahead of us. And we are blessed because we have strong counsel through the Beckett Fund representing us against the state of Colorado.
Yeah.
And we won't back down on protecting women, and we're certainly not going to be so cruel as not to help them.
Well, the reproaches that fall upon the preborn, you want to identify with them, it will fall on you.
Yes, of course.
And that's what's happening. But it's just proof of your integrity and your identity with the least. So share with us, are you trying to duplicate what you're doing or help people? Nothing's exactly the same. Help them along to model, what you're doing. And I think it's important as well. You got like 80 people on staff now, but you only started with 2 or 3, right? You and your daughter. So that's important too. We're not asking you to have 80 people, when you begin. But share a little bit about how you're doing that, or, what are the steps?
So interestingly, right after we were getting started, we checked, well, who else is out there doing this? Father John Brutowski in Virginia, and then Senator Tim Van Dolen and Dr. Kilmer already started something in Austin. So they were just a couple years ahead of us, Tepeyac a bit further. But checking them out and like, how do we do this? And but everybody's still kind of spinning their wheels and trying to figure this out. But then other people were like, gosh, my heart is being moved. What can we do? And so there was a lot of collegiality going on about trying to figure things out. But there's a lot of steps to it. And I think not getting the cart before the horse, it needs to start with prayer. It needs to start with strong spiritual guidance so that people can understand that this is a battle, and it's more than just a legal battle, because the legal battle is just a small step of the spiritual battle. And so people need to be prepared spiritually to do this, and then they need to make the next steps, have a board, have the people to have the money to get things started. So what we have done since the beginning is kind of chronicled the things we did well, the things we really wish we wouldn't have done, right? So, and I always feel like the stuff that I did wrong was the biggest things I can help people with, right? But also, now having very practical things we can bring them, very spiritual things that we can help them with, but very practical things. And so Bella is now helping to consult with other clinics across the nation who are trying to do this. And the lane that we are in is that culture lane, is that understanding that we are a storefront to bring souls to heaven. And so the disposition of our staff needs to understand that.
Absolutely.
That we are the hands and feet of Jesus, period.
Yeah.
How
and so
exciting.
so when you're coming in to join your staff, I mean, you're not just looking for a skill level, right?
Correct.
Which is good. I mean, we want everyone skilled and excellent in what they do. But it's also the spiritual aspect that they bring.
Oh, for sure.
Because they have to be called by God to be there too.
Yes.
Because it's not the career mode that maybe they learned in nursing school or being a physician's assistant or OBGYN. It's a different model.
And it has to be a mission fit, and also in the pro-life world, I think, is in some of the bind that it's in, because it's kind of like they've eaten their own sometimes within. And I think that we've gotten ourselves into trouble. And so we need to simplify things down about the love of Jesus and bringing the love of Jesus to an individual. And so there needs to be a mission fit, right? And so that mission fit is that it's not just about the babies. It is a lot about the babies, but it's from that moment of conception till that moment of death.
Right.
And there's a heck of a lot of life in between that needs every bit as much passion and love and time and energy. And so you need to have a person who has the battery life to work for a mission versus work for a job.
Right.
What is the relationship with a more full-blown clinic like yours? You know, I mean, you're doing pediatrics, OBGYN, you know, functional, you're doing all these different aspects. Is the pro-life center that's dealing with trying to attract women that are considering abortion, work with them, how do you interplay with one another? Are they a feeder into you? How are you helping them? Why do we still need the pregnancy medical centers? You got a whole full-blown thing. Is there a place for each? How does this work?
So I do think that there's a place for each, because I think that we have hearts and we have skill sets, right? And we also have different resources and abilities, and also different demographics, right? In terms of where things are. The reason we love to work, we have a partnership with Catholic Charities in Denver. We also work with Alternatives, another pregnancy resource center that's doing a lot of great things, and as well as others. We are on phone calls and we talk about how we can help one another. We are a feeder because before we came, the pregnancy resource centers, they just kind of had to let the people go to whoever they might go to, and sadly, women remain abortion vulnerable. They leave at 12 weeks or 9 weeks or 6 weeks, still very vulnerable. And they vacillate, they're wishy-washy, and that can go for a long time. And they need someone who's not going to be like, oh, you know what, you can throw in the towel, I can help you with that. So it's very important for the pregnancy resource centers to have people in the community that you know will accompany your patients well. And even if they're not Catholic, but they are faithful, and they are not going to push abortion, and they will honor what your center believes. I think that, because I do feel like we have to make some compromises and recognize we're on the same page. We're trying to save babies. We're trying to bring the love of Jesus. And so we do have to say, okay, will you take care of my patient? She does not want birth control. She's decided not to abort her baby. Will you please honor that?
Yeah.
You have to
and we have that, and we have a great physician here, and we'll call if she's threatening a miscarriage and she needs, another skill set that we're giving. We'll call the nurse manager will call and say, we'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And so it's like, okay, we got you taken care of, as opposed to, I'm going to have to wait for my Medicaid to process, and then I'm going to have to wait and get my appointment. Meanwhile, she has all these other voices in her head saying, see how difficult this is? Why don't you just have an abortion? That's going to solve all your problems, and everything's going to be okay.
Exactly.
Right? And so we have to have our game on the other defense saying, no, now this is where you go and this is what you do.
That's exactly
You got to continue that culture of life that they experience in one place or the other. Let's begin it in the pregnancy medical center. You got to pass them on to somebody that's thinking this way, because don't be conformed to this world. There's a lot of the world, there's not enough of what we're doing. Don't be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Well, the next person we're passing you off to, in terms of your healthcare, is this group. And you're doing the whole dignity model and reality, the atmosphere that's there.
Well, and if we want to, the word I would say to what you're saying is accompaniment. Right? Is accompany them. And I think that's where, when we look at the primary care setting, where we've added full men's care. I mean, we were not open very long at all when men were wanting us to care for them. That blew our socks off. We're like, oh my gosh, we better like scramble the team a little bit, right? But that accompaniment for, and just as much for men and women, and although I try very, very hard not to focus on that big corporation that does abortions that involves parenting, or they think so. But what they do is they get their people by relationships, by going into the schools, by being a safe place, by having, you know, maybe a woman's had her annual exam there and now she has her best friend's daughter is pregnant. This would be a very safe place to go, right? By having primary care, and we are accompanying men, women, and children. So that means even the man, the dad, his kid is in a surprise situation, their best friend, his niece. Then he's saying, why don't you come into Bella and let's talk? And so it's that accompaniment that makes all the difference. And I think that's, for us, what we've seen really unfold so beautifully in true life-affirming care.
We're going to take a break at this point. We'll continue the conversation, holding you over for the final segment. We'll be right back. Plenty more to come. Don't go away. Welcome back. We're continuing our conversation with Dede Chism and Bella Wellness Care. So what does this dignified manner of healthcare, seeing the dignity of every human being, what does it look like in reality as it touches people and communities?
So when you talk about dignity, we're talking about from creation, right? We're made in the image and likeness of God. We are His precious creatures who knows every cell of our whole body, right? And so to have someone caring for you who understands that, they look at things a little bit different. You know, we hear a lot recently when the like the post-Dobbs law, and how that people weren't going to be treating people who have ectopic pregnancies. That's one thing. The way that in a Catholic setting, of course, we have a lot of prayer. We have prayer in our office. We have prayer often happening in the chapel at a very time. But then that the doc will pray with the patient and will go in to take care of the ectopic. No, we don't give a medication that could perhaps abort a dead baby. Our thing is to treat the mom, right? And so that isn't the truth when they say we don't take care of people with ectopic pregnancies. But what we'll do is we will excise that tube, make a little slit so that we can see the baby. We will baptize that baby and pray, sometimes even name that baby, especially if we have been given a name. And then we remove the tube and we do what we need to do to save the mom. And that's one example. Another example, several years ago, it was one of our very first circumstances. We've had several circumstances where pregnant women develop cancer, and pregnancy hormones can be like fertilizer to cancer, and can be very, very dangerous. And we've seen this with multiple different kinds of cancers, lymphomas, with breast cancer, ovarian cancer. Young mom who had tried to get pregnant and then had ovarian cancer. We had a woman. We've had a few women who have developed cancers on or near their uterus, and rapidly growing cancers, where the only answer is to remove that uterus, or like remove that ovary, like I said, and removing the tube, removing the breasts, right? But in that circumstance, we must treat and care for the mother and that baby with utmost dignity. So in a circumstance with a mom where you have to do a hysterectomy,
Right.
you actually deliver that baby, baptize that baby.
Beautiful.
That baby can be laid in that sleeping mom's hand to die with that mom as we remove and care for the mom.
Dede, we have to conclude. I'm sure you have story after story after story of the Lord ministering through you, through your wonderful ministry. Hope you're encouraged today. All together we'll build a new culture of life and marriage and the family. Keep it on EWTN. Bye now.